Hello, my friends. This is Lynda Lippin, and welcome to the Pilates Goddess podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome one more time because you did come back to the Pilates Goddess podcast. This is your host, Lynda Lippin, and last episode I talked about how to discern whether the exercises that you're doing that might call themselves Pilates are actually Pilates. And today I'm going a little bit further with this, and it's probably going to piss some people off, and I'm okay with that. And we are going to talk about some dangerous, truly dangerous, quote unquote Pilates, and I'm air quoting as I say that, trends. Because they're really, some of the not quite Pilates things that are out there are actually fine in that they're not going to hurt you, right? They may not have a huge relationship to actual Pilates or to the work that Joseph Pilates created, but they won't hurt you. The problem, though, is there are a few trends out there that really can hurt you. And those are the ones that we're going to be talking about today. And there are actually quite a few of them, and more of them, I think, than any one of us would like to think. Some of these trends I just find out about on social media. I'm in a lot of groups of Pilates teachers. And in these groups, Pilates teachers ask a lot of questions. And I'm not always interested in the questions, but looking at some of the answers that people give to the questions. So the first air quote Pilates trend that I'm going to discuss with you is hot Pilates. Now, those of you who've been in the game for a long time may remember when hot yoga started maybe 30 years ago, 25, 30 years ago. And that was a specific series of yoga postures that, Bikram had kind of pulled out and put together from all of the yoga. And it was done in a very hot room, like over 90 degrees. And I had a few clients who had started doing Bikram, and they were talking to me about, the cleansing benefits of sweating so much in a hot room, and, how fabulous the workout was and how great they felt doing it and how much more flexible they were and all of this. And I went and I tried a few classes, and actually I found it kind of gross, to tell you the honest truth. You're in a room with, at that time, probably 25 other people, all sweating, all on yoga mats. And it was, in this kind of post-pandemic time, it's something I can't even think about without cringing, frankly. But here's the deal. I personally am hypermobile and extremely competitive when I'm in a group fitness environment. And so I ended up hurting myself doing Bikram because I pushed myself through stretches and positions that my body really had no business being in. And pushing through those positions caused me to overstretch and caused, some tendon and ligament damage. And this is something we don't always think about. I also witnessed while in class, some people getting dehydrated and almost passing out. And I witnessed some folks just getting sick, just feeling nauseous, not feeling good. and having to leave. So lo and behold, the other day, I'm in a Facebook group and somebody from Europe comes on and says, "Hey, so I went to this hot Pilates class the other day and it was 32 degrees Celsius, which is around 90 degrees Fahrenheit in the room. They're doing both, full on Pilates, like apparatus and mat. And she's like, I didn't feel so great afterwards. And I'm just wondering, why would one do this?" And what was interesting to me was all of these people were like, because being in a warm, hot place is better for your muscles. Muscles work better in a hot and warm environment. And I was like, no, there's no science behind that. There's no science behind that. Muscles do what muscles need to do. If it's cold out, you put on some warm clothes and you can still walk and you can still climb hills and you can still ski and you can still use your muscles as you need to. And in fact, when it's really, really hot out and your body's hot and therefore your muscles are and your connective tissue might be a little overheated as well, you may feel like you have better mobility, but it's false mobility. And as soon as your body comes back to like room temperature or its regular temperature, that laxity tends to go away. So a lot of times we really can overstretch when we are in a very warm environment. So my comment was that I didn't understand why you would want to do that. And I was with a client this morning online, and she's another Pilates professional. And I said to her, when I taught in the Caribbean, when I taught at Parrot Key, I had started a beach Pilates class. And even though the spa and services didn't ostensibly start until 9 a.m., in the morning, I taught the beach Pilates class at 8 a.m. There were two classes that I always taught at 8 a.m. That was a beach Pilates class, and I taught a cross training class, which when it was nice out, I would take outside. And we would do exercises on the tennis courts, and sometimes we would go down to the beach, or we would do sprint runs up the hill. And, I had it was a whole thing. Of course, if it was raining, we would just be in the gym. And both of these classes were scheduled for 8 a.m. And do you know why? Because the 8 to 9 hour is the hour when it starts to get hot. And so by 9 a.m., it would usually be pretty warm outside. And that way, at least if people were a little too overheated, they could go jump in the water, they could jump in the pool, they could run back and they could take a cold shower outside, they could run back to their room, whatever they needed to do, and then go have breakfast. I had a whole lot of clients who, when I was there, that had issues with being out in that heat. Okay, people would start to cramp in the Pilates studio because they were dehydrated and didn't have enough magnesium and other minerals and salts in their bodies. We had, supplements to give them for that. We also had folks who had high blood pressure and low blood pressure, and either way, you're not going to do well in an extremely hot environment. So my comment to this was, there's actually no point in doing that. Joe Pilates never said it was a great idea to do that. The ideal temperature to exercise in is actually around 70 degrees Fahrenheit, just so you all know. Anywhere between the 65 and the 75 degree Fahrenheit mark is the ideal place because it is warm enough to be comfortable. It is cool enough that when you're done exercising, you can cool on down. All right. And that's how that works. So my comment was, there's no point. I don't understand why you would want to do this. And it's dangerous to be doing strength and endurance exercise and flexibility work in high heat. Well, all of a sudden there's this backlash of comments. Muscles work better in heat. 90 degrees is not extreme heat. One person actually decided to call me sweetie, another woman, and tell me that 90 degrees wasn't extreme heat. So I, of course, did what I do and got links to the science, because there is science behind this. The U.S. Center for Disease Control defines 90 degrees as the beginning of extreme heat. 90 degrees is when they open cooling centers in the city. 90 degrees is when they tell seniors and people with blood pressure issues and pregnant women to stay indoors in air-conditioned environments as much as possible. And if you live in a place that has an actual winter, your body is not attuned to an extremely hot environment. So the only reason why you would want to exercise in an extremely hot environment is if you say are an endurance athlete and you're getting ready to go to compete in a very hot environment. Like, it was probably appropriate for some of the World Cup teams this year to do some of their workouts in an extremely hot environment so they could get used to what it would feel like in Qatar, okay, where it's really hot. So that's the only time. Other than that, you're putting your body or your clients' bodies in a really stressful place where they could easily get overheated, get dehydrated, get sick, or get injured. And frankly, I view my role as a Pilates professional and a fitness professional as one of keeping my clients safe and keeping my clients feeling and functioning at their best. So why would I put them in an environment where I got injured? Why would I put them in an environment that actual scientists say is not conducive for exercise unless you are training to compete athletically or play athletically in that kind of climate and environment? All right. So the whole hot exercise, hot yoga, hot Pilates situation is bullshit. And, know that. You can hurt yourself more than it will help. Now, the second trend that I'm seeing a lot of in a group fitness environment is darker rooms with loud music and 12 to 16 people working on reformers at the same time in a class. You see this a lot in the Club Pilates chain. You will also see this in, studios that are billing themselves under that model, right? That see that model as a good way of making money. Again, here's the problem. Number one, when you're doing Pilates, you don't want to be doing it in a particularly fast necessarily or particularly slow way. In fact, in classical Pilates, we often talk about the fact that the ideal metronome for the exercise is the pace of the human heartbeat, which is not super fast nor super slow. You also want to be able to focus on what you're doing and on the teacher who is instructing you. So if you are in a darker room with louder music, which makes it harder to hear the teacher and harder to see what's going on for your teacher, as well as for you and everybody else in class, there could be a problem there. It's going to end up changing your workout because in that environment, you are not going to be able to do all of the actual Joseph Pilates equipment exercises because it's going to be unsafe to do them and to teach them in that kind of environment. So the workout changes. If you're anything like me, maintaining your strength and a healthy heart as you age is really important, because without muscle strength and without a healthy heart, you really won't have that great of a quality of life. And as you know, I am a huge fan of having improved quality of life, not just for myself, but for all people, including those who are frail, disabled, and in need of care as they age. To help prevent the natural decline of muscle and heart function that always happens as our bodies age, it's important to make sure you're getting the nutrition your body needs. And not just any nutrition, but science-backed nutrition like Life from the Amino Company. You can take Amino Company's Life, which is a 100% science-backed formula. In fact, the initial research was funded by NASA, as part of your normal routine to help maintain muscle mass as you age, maintain good heart health, and possibly increase longevity. This is a patented blend of essential amino acids that work to improve quality of life so that you can stay healthy and active as you age. Life has been shown in clinical trials to clinically improve blood lipid profiles by significantly reducing triglycerides, LDL, VLDL, and total cholesterol. It has also been shown to improve physical function in patients with heart failure. And this is all backed up by actual science. Okay? Life is designed for heart health and active aging, which, as we both know, is crucial for total lifespan. Now, I drink Life every day. I use the all-natural watermelon flavor because I basically like my drinks to be all natural, but know that they have tons of other fabulous flavors for you to enjoy. Life works by triggering muscle protein synthesis, which is the body's mechanism for repairing and building muscle. When tested against any protein source, Life is more than 3 times more effective on a gram for gram basis at stimulating muscle growth and repair. And I know how important this is for my quality of life and staying healthy as I age. You can check out Life and check out the science by visiting aminoco.com/goddess. That's AMINOCO.com/goddess. I've been on the lookout for something to help support healthy blood flow and lipid levels. I have issues with high cholesterol. And when I go for my physical in March, I'm really interested to see what my lipid levels look like as compared to how they normally are. Plus, it tastes great and is easy to incorporate in my daily routine because you just mix it with water. Amino Co's Life was created by former Harvard professor and world-renowned clinical researcher Dr. Robert Wolfe. And right now, you can get 30% off when you use code GODDESS. So head on over to aminoco.com/goddess and save 30% on your first order and get a free gift with your first purchase. Okay, teachers who teach in those studios are instructed to take certain of the Joseph Pilates classical exercises out of the workout in order to attempt to keep the class safe. So basically, they're building an inherently kind of unsafe environment for a money grab. That's right. My husband is in the background, and he was like, it's a money grab, because then you can fit 12 to 16 people in a class. They don't have to really think about what they're doing or focus on what they're doing. They're listening to music, they're hanging out with their friends, and maybe all going out for a coffee afterwards, but they are not getting the true benefits of a focused and instructed Pilates workout. Okay. They're just kind of doing something on the equipment. And again, it can be dangerous. Why? Because number one, it is really difficult, even for a seasoned instructor like myself, to teach that many people at once on the equipment. Now, what's really interesting to me is a lot of these studios claim that they're teaching true classical Pilates because they happen to be teaching on reformers. And the universal reformer was, one of the only pieces of equipment that Joseph Pilates actually got a patent for and trademarked. So, yes, it is a true piece of Pilates equipment. I'm totally with them on that. But Joseph Pilates never taught huge group classes on the apparatus. He taught large groups of people mat and standing work and Pilates calisthenic work. But again, he was teaching a lot of these folks were dancers and movers at Jacob's Pillow or, at a dance festival where they had a good basic understanding of their bodies and how to use their bodies. Okay, so it's a different environment. He was not just taking, random people off the street and throwing them into large group equipment sessions. So once again, if you're doing that, that's not really Pilates. And it could hurt you. And it could be dangerous. Okay. A third trend that I'm seeing and that I've been seeing for the last 20 to 30 years is people adding to the Pilates reformer or other pieces of equipment. So, Sebastian Legree from Legree Fitness out in California kind of started this with his megaformer. Okay. Now they call it Pilates. If you see a lot of photos of folks coming out of Pilates studios, on social media or in People Magazine or in any of the gossip rags, they are often coming out of a Pilates Plus studio. And that is my sign that it is a megaformer studio. Now, the megaformers move differently than standard Pilates equipment. They are heavier than standard Pilates equipment. They have different arm settings. You work on them in a faster way. The bar is set differently. The carriage is set differently. And they are meant for a very different workout than a classical Pilates workout. Yet, they can call themselves Pilates. Now, mind you, if you've listened to this for a while or you've looked at any of my stuff online for the past, few decades, you will notice that I was not a fan of the folks who sued to quote unquote protect the name Pilates, because that was exclusionary and it was a power play and it was bullshit. But it does mean that now anybody can call anything Pilates. If you go on Amazon right now, and you could while you're listening to this, and just type in Pilates equipment, you're going to see all kinds of shit. You're just going to see, sets of tubing and bands. You're going to see things that bear no resemblance to actual Pilates equipment. You will see some things that actually do bear resemblance to Pilates equipment, but stuff is all over the map. You can basically take anything that's a resistance thing, of any sort and tag the name Pilates onto it and try to sell it as Pilates equipment. So the heavy, fast, more strength-based, more cardio-based nature of the megaformer workouts and the megaformer classes also tend to lead to a little more sloppiness and to a little more injury. And what it also leads to is, frankly, a less effective and less functional workout. I don't give a shit if you feel like you've like sweated your ass off and like lost all of this water weight and, you're sore in your thighs. That's not what Pilates is about. Pilates is about finding balance in the body. It's about moving in smooth and controlled and effective ways. Okay. It's about breath. It's about moving the spine. It's about being in your body in a balanced and functional way. If you are throwing yourself around on equipment that is based on Pilates equipment, if you are throwing yourself around on Pilates equipment, but you're doing it with 15 other people with loud music in the dark, or you're on Pilates equipment or you're doing Pilates mat, but you are in a 90-degree or above room with other people, I'm letting you know right now that you are not doing Pilates as Joseph Pilates created it, that you're not even close to doing Pilates as Joseph Pilates created it, and you can hurt yourself. And the majority of clients that I have seen or had consultations with over the years who have gotten hurt in other Pilates studios or doing what they thought was Pilates has been in these situations where, I used to have people come into Real Pilates and take a reformer class where we limited the class size, had typically one teacher and often an apprentice assisting them. And I remember once I took, a reformer class, I had a cancellation, and the woman next to me in the class had only ever been to a big studio with, 12 reformers and loud music. And she found the actual Pilates reformer class so much harder, so much more difficult, so much more effective, so much more interesting than the classes she was used to doing. And I let her know, since I was on the reformer next to her, I was like, I teach here. I'm a master teacher. If you want to watch me, you can. I also let her know that there was a Club Pilates a few blocks away, that if that was the workout that she was really looking for and wanted, that, she could get that in the neighborhood since she was visiting. And at the end of class, she was like, I don't know if I want that anymore. I want a little more of this because now my back feels better. I feel better. And I think I'm going to be a little bit sore tomorrow because the springs feel a little bit heavier. And we did fewer repetitions of things, but maybe held them a little bit longer, worked them a little bit heavier. And that's the work that you want. Okay, that's the work that you want. So I'm just going to close this out by saying, you do you, right? You do Pilates, you do whatever you want in the environment that you enjoy doing it in. But just know that if it's super hot, if it's super fast, if it's dark with music, if there's 16 people exercising at one time, and if all you see in the studio are megaformers and no other form of Pilates equipment, then you're not really doing Pilates. You're exercising, you're doing something else, but you are not doing Pilates. And if you are a Pilates teacher who ends up working in one of these other environments, and you notice that you have to be retrained, and you notice that there are exercises that you know to be good, safe, effective exercises that are not done in that studio or in that environment, then once again, you're probably not teaching Pilates anymore. Okay. You're teaching something else that may be related to Pilates, that may be a close or distant cousin of Pilates, but is not Pilates. Just because people call it Pilates doesn't make it Pilates. So be safe, be discerning, ask questions, and again, you're going to do whatever you want to do, which is fine with me. I just want to make sure that everybody is educated and aware of what is out there and what could cause you pain and injury, as opposed to keeping you feeling and functioning at your very best.
Don't let the people question your concern either.
And don't let the people in that studio or in that space blow you off if you have questions and concerns, because they will. They'll try to tell you that you're wrong and what you've heard is wrong, and it must be from one of those horrible classical Pilates people who don't understand new developments. Look, I follow anatomy, okay? I know what I'm talking about here. I'm science-based, fact-based. And if people ask me why I do things in a certain way, or why I say things, or why I cue things in a certain way, or why I ask people to not do certain things, I'm able to answer them and tell them. So if people are not able to answer you, if people blow you off, if people, I actually had a client who came to me regularly when I was in the Caribbean, and she was from London. And I remember one time she was going to a megaformer studio. At that time, that was all they had. And she expressed concern that she was in neck and shoulder pain and that it wasn't getting better, that it was getting worse. And the teacher and the manager of the studio told her that neck pain was okay, and that neck and shoulder pain were part of the process of getting stronger in Pilates. And I looked at her and I said, look, you're not an idiot. And you're spending a lot of money for this. So are you really, really wanting to spend your money in a place where people tell you that it's okay that you're walking around in pain in between classes, that that's part of it? Because then she would come and work out with me, and not just, once or twice during the time she was away. She would work out with me twice a day. We would do Pilates in the studio for one of those workouts. We would do work in the gym for another one of those workouts. And she never had neck pain and never had back pain. After those sessions, she would leave in better shape than she came, and she would leave in less pain, even though she was still working out 2 hours a day, every day with a trainer. And that for me was kind of the proof of the pudding, okay? The proof was right there. You do those other workouts, they roll you through the stuff, and they tell you that pain is part of it. Pain, soreness, muscle soreness for maybe a day can be part of the process, and that's okay. Pain that lasts longer, pain in the back, pain in the neck, pain in the shoulders, not okay. Not good. So be safe, be discerning. And if you want to do Pilates, just please do actual Pilates and not air quote Pilates. All right. And if you have any questions about that, you just come on over to pilatesgoddess.com and you leave me a message or you leave me a voicemail, and I will get back to you and I will explain and answer whatever your questions are. So, guys, as always, thank you so much for listening. Have a great rest of your day. And if you're enjoying the podcast, please share it with your friends and please leave a rating and maybe a written review on the Apple Podcasts app. And you can also do that on Podchaser and at pilatesgoddess.com. And all of those links are in the show notes. I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much for listening to the Pilates Goddess podcast. Music brought to you by Nerd Salad. Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts, especially if you liked it. And please like, share, and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks.